neighborhood of $30,000, $25,000, $30,000 to keep that pool operating. To use the same pool at Highlands would cost us probably in the ballpark of $7,500. So we stand a chance to possibly financially improve our standing by getting out of the contract, by letting it expire, but also by going to Highlands, we also save a substantial amount of money by doing it. And one other thing I wanted to point out too that's not in the report, the contract was fairly clear as to what the division of responsibility was when we have to take care of the pool, when they have to take care of the pool. However, it's come to my attention that we have not been following that contract closely enough. And over time, what has happened is we've actually been, our maintenance guy has been maintaining that pool on a year-round basis. So when I say 20 hours a week, it's 20 hours a week across the board, and sometimes more in the summertime. So we are saved by, again, moving, not going back to that pool and going to Highlands. We also save basically a half of a foreman position, which we can then reprogram those hours into needs that we have for our district. So I think it's a kind of a, it's a complicated situation, but in the end, it's really, I think there's really only one way to go with this in the district's best interest, and that is to move forward with the recommendation as it's outlined in the report.
Committee want to say anything?
We pretty much, I mean, that's like, that's our conversation.
Yeah.
My only concern is for the local community right here. I mean, I just don't know how many people basically walk to the pool, and once we did it, it would be a much further commute, walk, and I don't know if that's anything we started looking at, talking to people at the pool, or.
And that was, I mean, we did bring that up. And,
Okay.
Highlands, in the scheme of things, isn't that much further
Yeah,
for the
I mean,
community.
and I understand that. I mean, overall, it's not that bad, but, there could be a huge group right near the pool that use it all the time that, that would be my only question. And I don't know that.
Yeah, I mean, it'll affect summer camp, obviously. because
Right.
Those kids.
Right, and again, the folks that live like over that way, closer to, we'll call it Business Park, it's gonna be a little bit of a walk if they're currently just walking right here. I mean, I'm not saying, I totally agree, I mean, I don't see any other options right now. Long term, we had talked about, once we started getting some infill in, 28th and things like that, is to try to maybe come up with funds and see what a complex would cost. If I remember right, we're talking $2 million.
$2 million to kind of to get to what you basically have right now, and that was not the recommendation of the consultant.
Right.
Because pools have modernized and things have changed.
Right.
If you want a new pool that kind of has all the bells and whistles, you're in the $5 million range to one. And so anything in between what you have and what's out there, probably half of that. One thing I should mention to you, I don't necessarily see what we're doing as the long-term answer. It could be that, the school district, the school district told Scott and I when we met with them that their long-term goal is to fix that pool.
Right.
So if they can get in the next 2 to 3 years, they actually do fix that pool, then there's no reason why we can't come back. But I would recommend that we come back as more as a renter. Right. And not enter into some sort of agreement like this. That's not, it was a good agreement in a way, and it was not a good agreement in another.
Right, and that's what I've always thought. Oh yeah, because I know, if I remember correctly, the Sunrise Animal Aquatic Center was about $6 million. I don't know if you've seen that. Yeah, if I remember correctly. Okay, so what are we being asked to do tonight now? Are we being asked to do anything? Because we're not going to approve any kind of extension with Trigger.
No, what we're asking you to do is the 3 things, and that under the recommendation. One is to allow the district to let the agreement expire, and we'll notify Twin Rivers immediately that's our plan, so we can begin to do the next thing, and that's enter into a discussion with them about the language that's in the existing contract. Let's get started on that. If we have some money coming to us, I'd like to get it as soon as possible. Yeah. It may not be as simple as that, but I think that's the process we should use. And the third would be, at the same time, entering into an agreement with them for at least a couple of years at the Highlands pool while the school district decides what they want to do with their current pool.
So I guess a question I have, and I'm trying to remember, it's been probably 20 years ago when we did the snack bar. That was us that did that, correct? Do we know, we have the records on
Yes.
what we did?
Yeah, and I spoke to Kay Dayhill, and, because Kay actually pointed me in a little bit different direction. She said, because we were talking about the initial cost to construct the building, and she says, what you really need to be looking at is what we've invested into it. And she said it was upwards to $2 million. And if you read the contract isn't talking about that we would recoup our initial investment in construction. It's including any improvements that we've made to the facility. So what we would do at this point is, once we notify the school district, is begin digging and acquiring all our documents, getting them in order. So we have a real number to look at rather than say we think it's this. We need to go back and say, this is what it cost in 1991 to replace the deck. This is what it cost to put the bathrooms in. And so that we have that real information. But the sooner we can start doing that, it may take us a while to gather it all.
Then again, since I haven't read the original agreement in a long time, is that depreciated dollars?
No, it doesn't say that at all.
Doesn't say
It does
that
not
at
say
all.
depreciated. Scott and I were just talking about that yesterday, that somebody missed the ball on this probably 50 years ago, that they should have, but it says.
Fair market value.
It's
at the
basically
time.
what it says.
Okay. This is gonna get hairy.
Yeah, I mean, if one looks
I'm
at.
glad there's a committee set up to deal with this.
Well, one thing that just to think about is if what we think we know is semi-accurate, that the number, then let's say the number is close to $1.5 million, including initial investment and other improvements along the way. And when you look at the percentage of what we put in, we put in about 80%, or should be probably 90% of the money. And so the question is going to be, again, this is the key point. It's not what the value of the pool is, it's the value of what we invested into the pool. And that's key, because they could come back and say, well, it's worthless, we're gonna close it down, it's not worth anything.
Right.
But that's not what the language says.
Okay.
I'm sure we'll have some attorneys looking from both sides to scrutinize this, but if you read that one sentence in it is straightforward. There's no gray area. I can't see it. I can see it.
So, before we get to this, something else just kind of crossed my mind. Since one of the committee members here kind of maybe works for the district, school district, do we want to set up an ad hoc committee to deal with this issue going forward? I don't, well, you're kind of in a conflict.
Yeah, if it's, I don't care.
Yeah, I don't want to put you in a bad way.
Yeah,
either
I
for
don't
us or
work
for
for
them.
maintenance, so.
I understand that,
Yeah.
but, yeah. So, I don't know what anybody else feels about that. If we think we need an ad hoc, or if you want to continue on.
You may want to continue just going where you're going right now. Let's see where this goes first, because you always have the opportunity to
That's
create
fine.
an ad hoc.
If
Yeah.
everybody's
We'll look
good with
at
that,
that.
that's fine. I just kind of thought about that, because you don't do anything unnecessary. Okay, so, do we actually need a motion for your recommendations? Because, well, I guess it's to direct staff to then start talks. I mean, this pool, I don't know if we need to do anything, because we're basically saying, we're not gonna redo, so unless we're gonna then just direct you not to redo. But then the other pool over there is start negotiations for, using Highlands. Are we on the same page here?
Mhm.
Anyone want to make that motion for me?
We'll make that motion to have, to direct staff to notify Twin Rivers Unified School District of its intention not to renew or extend the use agreement beyond the expiration date, to determine the district's reasonable value of its interest in the swimming pool as noted in the language on item J, and to initiate discussion with Twin Rivers Unified School District to enter into a use agreement for the Highlands High School swimming pool for 2015 and beyond.
I'll second it.
You get all that, Terry?
I did. I've been listening to this week.
Okay,
So
so
you read it right off, you can just take it right off the document.
I have a motion. You seconded it?
Yes.
Thank you, okay. Motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions. First of all, I want to thank the committee and more so I want to thank staff, and I know that this is going to be a long, involved process, and I know you've already put a bunch of time in this, so I just want to thank staff for that. Okay, so now that I messed up all my papers, next item on the agenda is item D. DF softball request to hold 2 Midnight Madnesses, August, looks like the first, second weekend in August, and then first weekend in October. And we have Mr. DF softball himself. Dennis, why don't you come on up?
I've submitted a kind of a synopsis of 2 events. The first one coming up in August is the Youth Girls Midnight Madness event. Last year we held this event on Labor Day weekend. It was over a 3-day weekend. This year we want to move it up into August, into the summertime, because we have the opportunity to run a college showcase event over the 3 days of Labor Day, which is a brand new event that would bring a lot of exposure and to the city of Sacramento and the county. But so we have the first one, which is a girls' youth event. We work with McClellan Park to secure areas behind the softball complex. There's open areas that is gated normally, and they open that up for us, and they actually assist in helping to clear that area for trailer camping, for tents, campers, motorhomes, etc. that drive into the back of that area, and then they access the complex through the back gate and not the front gate. There's also the parking lot along Perrin, which is adjacent to the district's property on the backside behind the Air Museum that we utilize as well. We have a very good relationship with McClellan Park with this. They assist us with notifying the residents, surrounding businesses and tenants. The tenants also assist by volunteering different things. TMI, which is traffic management, which is right behind us now. They specialize in barricades and things like that, traffic barricades, and they say, hey, you know, grab a bunch of stuff here if you need it for traffic control or whatever, and that's fine. The participants start arriving on Friday night, and they set up camp back there. And we also have a tent camping inside the complex behind the 200-foot home run fence. And that's mostly where the teams, because the lights are on the whole time during the evening, the teams kind of set up the tent area for more of a, the girls go there and they have kind of a clubhouse to kind of to go back to. But the parents usually go out to the outer areas and stay in those areas there. Many of the parents still book hotel rooms because we don't have shower facilities and things like that. So many times they'll actually still go out to Lionsgate or one of our other hotels and book a couple of rooms so that they can actually go and shower and do things and get cleaned up and then come back too. We find that even if they're local, they take this as an opportunity to come out. A lot of these families have big 40, 50-foot motorhomes that sit on the side of their house most of the year, so they take the opportunity to bring them out and circle the wagons and do that. It's an outstanding event, especially for the girls. A lot of bonding, a lot of fun time. Basically a big family camp out between the teams and playing softball. Last year, because it was a 3-day weekend, we actually went into Sunday night into Monday. This year, because